Part 2 of the pumpkin. You're going to get your sphere that you made yesterday with your name on it, and you're going to need two tools. One is a plastic green tool, and one is called a needle. And you're going to decide which is the top of your pumpkin, and use your thumb just to make an indent so you know this is where the stem is going to go. Then you're going to get your plastic green tool, and you're going to roll the tool from top to bottom, making the indentations for the pumpkin. You want them to be equally spaced, and you have to make sure that when you're doing this that the plastic is still on, or you're going to cut right through your clay. So take your time going around, making sure that they're all even. I think that one's a little bit off. I think I want to recut that one. Okay. Okay, and now you can take off your plastic. Okay, so I like to go back and I like to use the edge of my thumb and just go back into those indentations, just so they're a little bit more realistic looking. Just go back and kind of push out where I cut and made it a little bit more smooth, just along there. I'm not sure what that is. Okay. Okay. If you lose your indentations, I get the edge of my thumb, kind of the corner, and I really push hard, and I go between where I've made those lines, just like that. Now the shape of the pumpkin is going to be up to you. Some people like it a little taller, some people like it a little more squat. I'm going to leave the shape up to you, what you want. Okay, if this one's a little more squat, I'm going to push it down. Okay, just like that. Don't forget, we still have paper inside, and that's got to come out later, and I'm going to show you that. Okay, but the paper will help support the inside so you don't crush it too much. Okay, once I have my pumpkin, I'm going to get some clay. I'm going to make a stem. So you're going to get a piece of clay. I like to roll it so that one end is a little thinner and one end is a little thicker. I tap it on the table just like that, okay, the thicker end. And my stem wants to be put right there. Okay, so get your plastic tool, and I draw the texture first, all the way around. The stem of a pumpkin's pretty prickly and pretty rough. Okay, then I'm going to decide that's where I want my pumpkin. Maybe I want to twist my texture a little bit, completely up to you. I want it a little wider. Okay, and then I'm going to use this tool to blend in the stem to the pumpkin all the way around. So remember, when attaching anything to your clay piece, you need to make sure that you're going to blend in this, whatever you attach, all the way around. You can't just stick things on or they'll just fall off. You can use your fingers to blend out wherever it didn't quite blend nicely. I like to kind of push down my stem a little bit to make it look a little more realistic. Okay, that's how it should look. Now I can go back and where I lost some of that texture because I was handling it. I can just go back and draw it back in. You can decide on how long or how short you want this stem. You can just take your needle and you can literally just like cut through, just like when it's on the farm, they just cut it off the vine, just like that. Okay, you can have a little shorter, a little longer, however you want. Okay, all right. And then I like to attach a vine to mine, so I take some more clay and I'm going to roll it into a coil. So when rolling a coil, you take your hands, and as you roll your coil, you're going to spread the hands apart very evenly so that your coil remains the same diameter and that you don't have thin and thick pieces. Also, you don't want to push too hard, otherwise your coil won't roll. It'll just be sort of flat. Okay? Then I take my coil that I've made and I wrap around my finger. Okay? This end is kind of dry, so I'm just going to cut it off there. Okay, get rid of that dry spot. Attach it to my pumpkin. Maybe I want it to start there. I want it to coil around. Now, this will break off. You always want to have whatever you attach to the pumpkin as compact as possible. So you either need to coil it around again, okay, so it'll do this, okay, or in this case, I think I'm just going to cut it. I don't think I want that long a vine, okay, so I'm just going to keep it all nice and tight around my pumpkin. Then don't forget that you have to blend in everything that you attach. So I have to go in here and I need to get my blending tool and I have to blend where the pumpkin body is touching the vine. I have to go all the way around, okay? Not just where it attaches here, but everywhere that it's going to attach to the body, where it touches the stem right there, I have to blend in, and I'm going to redraw back my texture. I want to get in there and blend it in, okay? That's why this tool is really useful, because it can get where your fingers can't. You want to imagine that this, whenever you make anything in ceramics, that this whole thing was just carved out of one piece of clay. Even though it's made by attaching different pieces, you really want it really, really, really well attached. Okay, all right, there we go. The other thing is when making anything in clay, that this will all shrink. It will shrink about 7 to 10%. So if you make a vine too thin, the whole thing will shrink and it'll become thinner. And clay is not that strong. If you drop it, it will break. And so you don't want to make anything too tiny, too thin. You don't want things sticking off or they will break off. And if you start to get cracks right here, okay, where this clay is kind of dry, you don't want to get some water and just smooth it on top. That'll make the cracks even worse. Okay, so you just smooth out your cracks with your fingers, all right? Getting in here, really making sure everything is well attached. All right, and then the leaf. So the leaf, I'm going to get some clay again. I'm going to press it flat with my fingers, but I don't want it too thin because I don't want it to break. I'm going to make kind of a leaf shape right here. Okay, so don't make it any thinner than about that. That's about I'm going to say a little less than a 1/4 inch. It's probably about 1/3 of an inch. Or not a 1/3 of an inch. It's probably like somewhere between 1/8 and a 1/4 of an inch. Okay. Then I cut out little wedges, just like this. When you're using the needle, you always have to have this clay board underneath you. You never cut on the table. Okay? All right. Once those are cut out, then I use my fingers and I kind of soften these edges, sort of rounding them out. And then I can get my leaf and I sort of push it together, okay, like that. And depending on how long you work on this, you can make it more and more realistic. Okay, and then you can take your needle and you can draw the veins. Remember not to cut too deep. You don't want to cut your leaf apart. You just want to add in detail. So I add in detail for the veins, just like that. Okay, when I attach my leaf, I can't stick it on like this. Okay, you can see where it has no support. Okay, when you add your leaf, you really want to attach it so that you're giving it as much support as possible. Okay, maybe I want to lean it against my stem a little bit, like that. Okay, and then just like the stem and just like the vine, you want to blend in everywhere so that it doesn't fall off. You don't want to blend in the side completely. You sort of want to get underneath your leaf and blend that in so you don't deform the shape of your leaf. So I'm kind of getting on the inside like this and blending it to the base of my pumpkin. Okay, once that's attached, then make sure that you write your name on the bottom, because we're going to store this in the plastic box that's on the ground until tomorrow.